All right. Welcome to the Finance and Admin Building Committee for July 18th, 2023. The agenda today will include two speakers, Dr. Berg and Mr. Mike Scott. The agenda out of the finance officer will continue on with donation requests for the city of Winter, along with budgetary items in the general funds. I'll turn it over to Chandra for her agenda.
The first item up today, I was approached by Dr. Berg on behalf of the Pix Theater for a request. I'll let him go into what his request is and discuss that with council.
There's nothing in the packet on that.
He has a handout
Thank you.
himself.
I'll stop looking then.
Thank you, Doctor.
So, is this thing on?
Should be.
Okay. So for the south wall on the Pix Theater is a real eyesore. We got enough eyesores on Main Street without that. There's a wall from the building that got tore down that's next to the Pix Theater. So I talked to Nasper Contracting, and they could foam that wall and paint it, which would be similar to the wall on the north side of the Elks Club that is also foamed and painted, which would give you insulating and water sealing of that wall. I guess I'm asking the city to give us $5,000. You can see it's going to cost basically $10,000, $9,949 to foam the thing and paint it. And we would come up with $5,000 somehow or other. When we did the art business over on the lot next to the Elks Club, we got a 99-year lease from Scott Schramm. That was owned by him. So legally, that might be the easiest thing to do, to get a 99-year lease on the wall, and then we don't have to go through ownership business. And the theater is a 501c3, so we don't have a problem with private ownership. That's all I got.
So,
Questions?
Question.
not so much for you right now. Is Troy available this morning?
He was just in the office.
Okay. It looks like to me, and I'm not a contractor, but it looks like to me we didn't complete our job taking down the wall. And I don't know if it can't come down, if it's part of your structure rigidity there, or if a pry bar would knock the rest of it off, or a machine, because there is that big appendage on your wall. My opinion, I don't think we need a 99-year lease. We need to finish our job and strip down your wall clear instead of having that big old block that's still sitting there. I just don't know if we can do that or not.
Well, you'd have to do it by hand. It's going to cost several dollars.
My question's for you, Troy. We're talking about the movie theater's south wall. I'm not a contractor, it's not my job, I'm an insurance guy, but I wonder if we didn't complete our job removing the brick away from their wall, or is it impossible to take the rest of that off and down?
The reason we didn't remove it is we weren't sure how it was connected. And when we were doing the top, the top portions of the wall, you could tell that it was, it was loose and crumbly, so we actually went on top of the movie theater and
Yeah.
pushed it off. Once you start tearing that wall down, I have no idea what's behind it. I don't know how it's attached to that other wall, if it's,
You're afraid they're married together and it will pull their wall out.
and I don't even know if that was, trying to remember how that. I'm pretty sure it was, that wall was the part of the other building.
Yeah,
But
you
there
can
was
see
also
the
some common-
staircase.
There was also some columns of brick that were all the way up and down that thing. We left it because we didn't want to cause any damage to your building.
Well, yeah, you don't want to cause us any damage, and we're glad to, incorporate that wall if you'll give us legal authority to do it. We'll foam it and paint it and incorporate that as part of the movie theater, and it'll be more insulation actually on that side of the building, because I'm sure there's no insulation in that movie theater on that side of the place. So it'll be, in the long run, it'll save us money to incorporate it, because it'll be that much more insulation.
Have you guys had a contractor look at it or anything? Like, have you got a,
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, I have a bid right here, yeah.
That's the foam it.
$9,949 to foam it and paint it,
I guess I'm just,
to
I'm
incorporate
more
that.
curious as if anyone's looked at it and is it structurally sound? If you're gonna invest this kind of money in it, make sure that it doesn't just fall down in 4 years from now, or because the rest of our, the old building is gone, or what's underneath it, what's holding it up.
Could we have Jacob look at that? I think it's our
He's not
responsibility.
structural.
He's not structural.
No,
We took
we-
the building down, it's still part of our building, attached to theirs. I understand not wanting to cause harm to their building, but I would think we would owe the movie theater to have their flat wall surface there. Because it's still our structure attached to their building. I understand, we don't wanna pull big bricks out of their building, and I know what Tony's saying about insulating and smoothing it, but it could be future problems if someone goes to build there, we have an appendage sticking out of their building, which is ours.
Yeah. I mean, when we got down to dirt level, there was a basement in that other building, and there was definitely a foundation there. And
A wide one.
that foundation that's underneath that wall, we did not disturb that. We left it. So, I don't know the answer to that. I'm not a building guy, I'm not a,
Troy, I assume we didn't have the, excuse me.
Stability to it.
Did we have our local engineer, structural engineer look at that as far as give us advice on removing of those?
Tiedemann gave us some, he gave us some, he looked at it, and
Do you know if he talked about removing that wall as far as whether or not it's something that we could go up there and just literally physically pull those bricks off without damaging the theater wall?
West. I can't remember what I had for supper last night.
Yeah.
I think that's something we should look at.
We probably
I'd need
need to at
visit
least
with-
find that
I
out.
thought Brett looked at it and originally, and he gave us a little bit of insight on, how that thing would come down, and it was different on the other side. On Dr. Didi's side,
Was not attached.
there was a definite space between buildings, there was a 24-inch space, almost big enough for a person to get in, but up against the theater, you could not see down there, so.
Okay.
One of the,
To be continued.
to be continued.
Yes.
One of the other concerns that I would have from a property standpoint, on commercial properties, there is no setback. They can go right up to the property line. So it is, I believe, the hope of council to get those lots sold and get somebody to develop eventually beside you. And legally, they could come all the way up to your building with their construction. Now, they're gonna need an engineer that says that we can build here and we're not gonna force this one to fall in. They're gonna have to make sure that they can build that whole way. But that brick, if I remember correctly, it's what, a foot wide all along that south side? That cuts into the property, and we could give you an easement, but then when you go to sell it to somebody that's potentially gonna develop, I think we either need to replat that to a 24-foot lot and give you the 1-foot lot, or bring down those bricks at our cost and our risk so that you can foam and do what you want to do. I love the idea of what you're trying to do. Just don't know that we shouldn't be, as Jeremy said, finishing the job, bringing that down so you have your own smooth wall, Doctor. I think that's best case scenario. But we'll get more information and see if we can even do that.
Yeah.
If we can't, then we replat the lot and
Probably.
pursue your angle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
That's a tough one.
Even you take the next wall off, his surface is still gonna be rough on the other side, and we're gonna have the same request.
Yeah, it's the same
Yeah.
request.
Gonna have to do this, but I just think it needs to be bare flat wall. Okay.
All right.
Next on the agenda, Mike Scott wants to talk to this committee, just give you some updates on the Chamber and Economic Development.
Thank you. Just wanted to do some updates, then a request. You know, I did make my initial request for my last year's annual budget. Initial request was $35,000. The city at that time did $25,000, and with an opportunity to revisit this, so this is why I'm here. I went ahead and gave a little snapshot of South Central Development that on the handout. This is basically about a 3-year history of some things going on. Had a few things late as this past year that's been very positive. You know, one of them was in assisting of a purchase of an existing business, having somebody move back to town, as you can see under our recruitment. We're almost, hopefully, within the next week, we'll have a finalization of selling the office building that we revitalized on Main Street. That's still pending. Hopefully that'll be done. We have a big project that we're working on. I called this morning to see if I would be able to bring that up yet. It's not official yet. We have something else that, as far as loan process, that we're helping with a new business in town as well. Over the last few months, we've had some additional expenses that we paid out through, one of them through our facade grant, assisting with the Pix Theater with their doors, that we thought that was very important. Another thing that we've done, I know I sent I know Councilman Clay and our Mayor Brozick, I've sent links to some proposals that we're looking at with potential Winter Plaza, some concepts. We did have to hire a firm to start that process. That was around $5,000 just to get that going. And also South Central has been involved with the creation of a new winter website for that we're working on, their portion of helping with that. So we've had a lot of really positive things that we've been doing. Still working with another company it's been a couple year process, but I've got a company that's still looking at possibly moving out in this area in the ag sector. So we had a lot of positive things. I'm just coming back to revisit my initial request was for $35,000 to see if there's any way we can work an additional $10,000 that we didn't get from the begin with our request, just showing a lot of the positive things that we've done within winter over the last year, but over the last couple of years as well. So that's some of the snapshots, and we appreciate all the support we can get. It does cost a lot of money. I know I'm also working on increasing our facade grant size so we can help with some painting and some signage and some different things on Main Street. I know I'm talking to 2 or 3 businesses right now, and they're trying to help them improve storefronts. So that's my request. Just
For Mayor and Council's information, your contingency with all the departments that you have promised money to, not knowing for sure if they'll need them or not. And I understand that your $300,000 contingency is sitting at $25,000 remaining.
Questions, council, for Mr. Scott?
Looks like a lot of good things going on.
A lot of effort, takes a lot of money.
Mike, we had discussed when you had stopped by about the basement. Would you mind going into some detail on that for us, please?
I would rather wait on that one.
Oh, okay.
The reason I say that is we're very close with that process to finalize that, but we've had a couple situations there. I know they're having some lease agreements being looked at legally, and they want to make sure that's all good. So yeah, we had kind of a setback on that, just some working on the leases. So I talked to her this morning, and that needs to be, they're having getting some legal opinions on the lease agreements. And once everything is signed on that, then I can go into further detail. We kind of got ahead of ourselves just a little bit. We had a couple of things that kind of, there had to be some revisions on.
Okay.
I'm not clear what you're requesting. Are you requesting an additional 10,000 in the 2023?
Well,
Or are you
what-
putting in a request for a 2024 budget?
No, 2023. The only reason I said that is the time that I did my initial request for 35,000, the council at that time approved 25,000, not the full amount. Then it was mentioned that it'd be something we could come back with and request the additional amount at a later time. And I guess I wanted to show some of the positive things that we've done since that period. And with that, there is extra expense involved, and we want to try to keep from going backward as much as we can, but at the same time, just kind of keep up with expenses and allow some different grant opportunities that we've had. So I guess that's why I'm coming back, because it was suggested at that time, at that meeting, that I could come back, schedule a time to request the full amount that I initially requested.
And this is economic development?
This is economic development.
Council, if you would like to consider that extra 10,000, you can send it to the next agenda of full council. Mr. Scott, I would have you come to the full council because it would take a full vote of the 6 to appropriate those funds.
Okay?
Gentlemen, do you want to send that to the full agenda or to the agenda with full council?
Yeah, the whole group has to vote on it. So.
Okay. Jeremy?
Are you sending it to full council with a recommendation for pass? You're just wanting to
I
send
mean,
it to full
everybody's
council?
gonna have questions. They're gonna ask,
Okay,
what do you plan on using the money for?
okay.
Whatever.
All right, let's put it on the agenda then.
Yeah, and Councilman Clunt brings a good point. They're going to probably, when you get to full council, want to know, I think you've referenced the facade grants, and they're going to want to know where you'll be spending the money.
A lot of it's where I've spent the money on this particular 10,000.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this isn't projected going forward. This is based off of 2023 and funds that we've spent, already, in addition to probably what my initial request was at the time when we made this budget request. So,
Okay.
okay.
We'll see you the first meeting in August, it sounds like.
Okay, sounds good.
August 7th.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
What about 2024 budget request?
That's coming up. So they don't have to they send a letter in
Oh.
for 2024, and then you guys get to make a basis, and then they come to full council to get the 2024 request after January 1st. So that is probably a good thing since.
I thought for budgeting, because when he came last time, it was like, we didn't budget it, sorry. You should have
Yep.
requested it.
So he did request that much.
Okay,
but
it just
the
wasn't
finance committee
budgeted.
did not
Okay,
budget that much,
all right,
Which you'll see that again in their request for 2024.
got it.
So you received requests, and so that's what we're going to talk about with donations next. You received requests from Summer Rec, American Legion, Tripp County Library, Main Gate, Winter Transit, Tripp County Fair Board, Winter Resource Center, Economic Development, and Chamber. There
In
are.
this packet.
Yes, you have all of those in that packet, and then actually, if you wanted to go to the budget page, which is towards the back, it'll look like this, and that has, I did write down what their requests were and what we have kind of paid out over the years. We are now breaking them down so that they have their own points, so that you can see specific what we gave to each one. So 2023 is our first year for that. So it used to be that all of the donations came out of two different areas. The business donations, which were nonprofit, came out of Culture and Rec, and then Chamber and Economic Development came out of Conservation and Development. In 2023, when we started the point system, starting in 2022, then we broke them down so that there's a good history, and it's not me going through and saying, okay, yep, this is what we paid, yep, this is what we paid. So now you guys can see it in the budget reports. So the process, Mr. Clay, is in the budget season for the next year, I send out a letter to each of the people that we have donated to or have requested donations in the past, letting them know they have a certain time frame to bring them in, and they have to provide the previous year budget, which 9 times out of 10 we already have because they've requested previously, the previous year financial statement, the previous year income and expense, current year budget, and then a letter requesting how much. And then there are 2 that are exempt from that, and that would be Summer Rec and American Legion, and actually, 3 that have been exempt from that in the past, and then the powwow, because they are using them for a specific project, not an overall budget. They're using it for their specific project. So it has been determined in the past, they don't have to provide all that information because it's a specific project. American Legion always asks for $1,000 every year to help with their barbecue pit row. In the years that they didn't have, not barbecue pit row, sorry, Chamber was just in here, for their Labor Day barbecue. In the past, if they didn't have the Labor Day barbecue, we didn't send the $1,000. If they have it, it's always been Mel Lee, who I've communicated with. He has always sent an official letter beforehand. Here's the dates we're doing it, and we would like the $1,000. Summer Rec, Jamie Keiser has always been very good about sending a letter. She is upping her amount this year from $3,000 to $3,500. The powwow we've given $250, we've given $500. This year you opted to do $750.
But let's be clear, that was not cash, that was
Rent,
the use
in
of the
lieu.
building.
So it was in lieu of the building.
Yeah.
So the problem with this is, because it's a donation, we cannot tell them 100% how to spend the money. So yes, she had it planned, she had it booked, then it got canceled 3 days before. She already had the money.
Well, we won't do that again. 'Cause
So that is definitely one of the
It-
problems.
It has been the recommendation in the past, and we've explored it, but never to any depth. Instead of a donation request process, that we go through a grant application, and then they come to us with the specific terms of what they would use the money for. Much like our highway project, where if we didn't spend it, we lost it. And last night, the state decided Chandra briefed us, we could get 100% of that grant to use for the process.
So in lieu of the building, why did she have cash in advance anyway?
Because I can't just give her the rent, there has to be a paper trail.
So she comes and uses it, and she owes $750, you write her a check for $750 after she uses it. I don't understand why we did it before
Because
she used it.
Because she had to pay for it up front. So when they rent the building, they pay for it up front. So it was given back to us originally. But then a written request, and by policy, the request was, we canceled, we would like our money back. I spoke with the attorney. I could keep the deposit amount because it was not 30 days notification of cancellation. The remainder of it, I could not keep because that is how our policy is written.
So the way this policy works and how we are operating now, Councilman Clinton, any one of the donations that we make during the course of the year, yeah, we're seeing a written request for certain reasons, but once the money is gifted, we legally cannot tell them how to do it.
Yeah.
If it's a grant process and you guys want to pursue a grant process where it has to be used specifically for that, or there's no appropriation,
I think, personally, I think we have enough on our plate to worry about what every one of these businesses is going to actually spend the money on. That one frustrates me because if we upped what she actually gave more than what they asked for the building, and that one irks me, but I personally feel that we have enough stuff going on to not go to another 15, 20 places and scrutinize what they're using the money for. I mean, 99% of them, you can look at it and say, well, Summer Rec, they're gonna use it for their volleyball camp or whatever, and the Legion's gonna buy beef, and we know what their yearly these donations are going to, but
This is the first time that we've been made aware, because it was our building, that we know that it wasn't used for the specific circumstance. And that's not to say that over the next, what is this, July? 5.5 months, they don't rebook. But, to be honest, this is the 5th time in the last year they've canceled without 30 days notification.
they paid a deposit every time.
So, yes, we keep the deposit. In fact, for a couple of those, I did allow them because they immediately rebooked and said, hey, somebody died, can't have it today, we want to rebook it for 3 weeks. I did move the deposit over at that time. Not doing that anymore. I've learned my lesson. It's per event. So you can put money in there if you'd like to for that, or you as a council can tell them no the next time they come up and ask. That's your choice.
Okay.
if you don't appropriate. Yeah. You don't have to give the same amount as you did last year to all these.
No.
It is one lump sum that they do come to council for and ask for appropriation, and how you choose to disperse these funds is well within your right.
Well, and you had mentioned one raised it. Sometimes it's even nice to see a change. At least they're not just bringing the same letter in every single year and saying this. At least that shows that there's either more of a need, or they're putting a little bit of time into actually figuring out their expenses.
Yes.
Even if it is more. We'd love to see them all come in a lot less, but it's not gonna happen. At least there's some time spent.
There was approximately 5 other folks that I sent letters to that did not return anything back into me. They had until yesterday to turn them in. I did have someone approach me last week. She stated that she spoke with the mayor, and he said we're in the process of it. So that was the Boy Scouts cabin. What she had originally spoke with the mayor about was, can you guys pay our insurance? And I said, no, because we require you to have that insurance, so it doesn't make sense for us to buy the insurance we're requiring you to have, because they're on our property. But I said, you can ask for a donation.
My question was, are you a 501c3, which obviously Boy Scouts of America is.
Yeah.
This process is for nonprofit 501c3s, and I said that this falls within the parameters of what council will be considering coming up.
So I did give her an additional week to get that to us, because she didn't have a lot of time and she had to work with, there's 2 different groups throughout. So if they decide to turn something in, you would see that in 3 weeks when we have finance again, because we have an extra week this month. So that would be the only other one that I extended the timeline for. The rest of them have not met the timeline. They were given a month and a half to meet that timeline. So into the actual business requests, the first one is Tripp County Library. $12,500 is what they're requesting. As you mentioned earlier, Austin, this is the same amount that they have asked for many, many years. I think you guys have all been here when Misty has come in and she's explained to the council what all she's doing with that money. It sounds like from what I hear and what you see on these reports, she is actually bringing a lot more things into the community, utilizing other grant funds as well to bring them in. She did turn in everything that was requested. So obviously it's up to you guys, but as far as the reporting side of things, Tripp County Library did meet the reporting. The next one is Main Gate. So when she came in at the beginning of the year and requested, all she had really said was rent when she initially turned it in for the 2023 budget. She did ask for more than that when she came in to help support some of their loss and their losses that they have. And at that time, she was informed, this is what was budgeted. If you want more, request more in your 2024 request. She did not give a specific amount in her letter. She said we would like more than rent. I did speak to her. She doesn't like to ask for money. So she said, whatever their hearts feel compelled to do. So I put an additional 2,000 in there. Obviously, you guys, that's your decision if you want to go above and beyond. The rent portion that we have paid for the last 3 years is $8,064. And they pay the rent. They're fabulous about that.
Their clients, is that they bill the county? Is it
Well,
state?
Insurance,
Yeah.
and state.
a large number of theirs are paid for partially through state funding. And that doesn't begin to cover their overhead. They get some insurance from some of the clients.
If they have it.
Yeah, yeah. Some of them are qualified for some additional Medicaid funding that can participate in that. There's about 3 or 4 sources, and those probably are, for most of their clients, it's lucky if if those sources come in and pay basic office expenses and maybe help out a little bit with wages.
Yeah.
They never come up to that 100% line by any means.
Okay.
So my question is, not what they do, not what they're trying to do, and not how they're trying to survive, because they are. And they're, in my opinion, they're vital to the community, which we, the city, use the heck out of. We do. But my question is about their business structure. I don't mean their operating policy. I mean, are they, like me, a business for profit? They're trying to be, they're not. They're,
They are
They are not a
nonprofit.
for-profit. They are and I'd have to look if they're officially a 501c3. I don't think they are.
I don't think they are.
They're just a nonprofit.
But the last that I knew, they were operating as a nonprofit of some sort, and I don't remember how they categorized it.
So it has to do with medical. A lot of your
Yeah.
medical that are owned by a board, so to speak,
Right.
are considered nonprofit.
And I'm
Winter
assuming-
Regional is considered nonprofit by the
Right.
state, but not an official 501(c)(3).
Right.
But for tax purposes, they're nonprofit.
So if, say they just went 6 months, nobody paid their bills, is the state step in and pay a wage?
No.
Nothing, they're just, no job, because no paycheck. There's no backing.
Well,
they have a local board or something.
they do.
Back when we moved them from downtown to here to System, their accounts were in horrible shape. They were behind, and Kathy worked, I
She
don't know
made
if I
some real
should say her name,
progress.
but
The
she-
director,
Huh?
the director.
The director.
Yeah.
The director worked very diligently
Yes.
to try and collect a lot of those arrears,
Yep.
And what my heart says we need to do what we can to help them out, because they're starving. The director is not taking full wage, and it's a huge benefit for the city. And not only us, the city, but the people of the city also, to have them here. And I don't think providing a space and utilities is enough. It's not, they're not viable, and I don't know why. It just, people aren't paying their bills, they're using the service maybe, I don't know.
Well, I think there's some of all of the above. Part of the issue that I know they as a board struggle with all the time is the fact that, yeah, they're doing a lot of service for Winter, South Dakota residents. They're doing a lot for Tripp County residents. They're also servicing clients from a lot of other counties and seeking some assistance from those counties. Some of them act like they don't exist. It's kind of like, since your office is not in whatever city in our county, they act like they don't exist and like they're not
Even though
doing
the
anything.
residents use it, they just,
Correct. And yet you look at the benefit that some of those people have actually even brought home to their home counties through this program. That, to me, is the more frustrating part. But we as a city, there's not a doggone thing we can do about it. I know that the folks at Main Gate have done their best to try to chase any kind of funding assistance they can.
so how I feel, Austin. This is how I feel. Whether we can afford to do it, whether we should do it or not, I guess it's up for the rest of the council to decide also. But their request to the space and utilities, and you threw in an extra $2,000 or whatever in the number. I'd like to make that extra 10,000 because they're struggling.
They are.
Is the county assist them? Do we know?
I don't know.
I'd like to put in $10,000 in here, in the budget to assist them and, put a challenge to our county commissioners to help fund this cause also.
Nothing wrong with that.
You know,
Yep.
In the letter, it does state they get paid $7.39 from the state for 15 minutes. That's not even minimum wage to cover
Well,
the employee who's doing it. For groups, it's $26.53, and you can have quite a few in a group. From here, seeing, they're busy. They're always busy.
always.
Yep.
Yep.
So I can plug the 1864 in if that's what both of you would like to see, and then obviously it can just be discussed further at retreat when full council is here.
how do you feel, Austin?
I'm fine doing a little extra. I mean, are there any other places in town doing counseling like this?
No.
This is
That I'm aware
the
of, no.
only-
I guess I shouldn't say a blanket no. I will tell you that, at least from a theoretical standpoint, there are a few of these services that kind of intermix with some of the things that Southern Plains does. But as a general rule, chemical dependency counseling and stuff, Main Gate is it.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're not donating a bunch of money and we have a
Right.
private person out in the community trying to make it go.
Right.
Because I'm not familiar with
Right.
if there's
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
So they have to be a certified drug and alcohol counseling center. I don't know, I'm not aware of any private-owned folks that are that.
No, there was one, number of years back that was, again, more of the mental health counseling. And she had some cert for a little bit of the chemical dependency, but did not get deeply involved in that at all. And that's the only one I'm aware of. She hasn't been here for a number of years now.
Sure.
I guess my thoughts on it is I'm fine as long as it's known that this is not probably the new norm. Like, I wouldn't get dependent on an extra
Sure.
every year. You know, I mean, if it's available, fine.
Yep.
It might be one of the first things to go if it's not available.
And it might not even make it all the way through this
It
budget.
very well might not, yeah.
Yep, you never know until you get there.
But it's one of them, maybe they're in need of a booster shot every 5 years. You know?
Yep.
That's a nice way to word it. Rock Senior Meals did not turn one in. In fact, they have not made it to a council meeting for 2022 or 2023 to even request the funds that they were requesting previously. And they've gone through a lot of changeover down there. They've moved offices, different things, but I've sent letters, notifications, I've done all I can. Winter Transit. Same situation. They did not come last year and ask for their money, and I believe actually, I don't know that they came the year before either. They have a new person now. She has since submitted what they're requesting. Obviously went through it, is requesting more than what they've requested in the past, of 12,000. Has quite the report in your packet as to what they're doing, what their plans for expansion are, that they have been expanding their rides, so that is in there. And they will actually be at the next council meeting on August 7th to request 2023's fundings of the $10,000. So just letting you be aware of that as well. Ready to move forward? The next one is Tripp County Fair Board, $5,000. This stems back to when the city first went live with demand. And that's when they really started asking for donations. I had quite the conversation with their fair board and one of their board members as to how they came up with this number. It had to do with, there was a deal made between some council members and the board that said, we'll not charge you demand, you'll just pay the 4 cents per kilowatt. I informed them, I do not have authority to do that, and there was never an official council motion, so you will pay the same as everyone else. Well, we came in and we did one heck of a study 3 years ago on their utility bills. At that time is when they were going through their expansion of the new building, and because of all the equipment plugged in and everything, they were actually using quite a bit of demand at that time. Since then, we've gone back and we've looked, we've got new meters out there. They're actually using very, very little demand. In the last 12 months, they actually only used $97 worth of demand. So obviously we don't donate in lieu of something either, but just kind of giving you a history there. They do seem to have their usage and hit on our power under quite a bit of control. That's not to say that they won't be hitting demand over the next couple months, because they do have some big events there, but $5,000 is their request again. To let you know also, the main reason I was at that meeting was to explain the garbage situation for them. They were only paying $75 a month for garbage out there, and they had 3 4-yard dumpsters. That's closer to $300 a month. Asked them if they wanted to keep them out there, if they wanted to get rid of them, what the deal was. They didn't know of a deal being made. They said it must have been just goodwill, that they were only being charged $75 a month. Obviously, we're not in that same situation. We have a new contractor, we own the totes and dumpsters, so there's a difference there. We have since made the change. They're gonna go to some 300-gallon totes. They're gonna pay for that, that's not a problem, but then they're going to have each individual group that's renting from them, if they need more garbage, then they would request that from the city for a weekend rental rate. So, in case anyone approaches you about what was going on.
You said $97 of demand is all?
Over the last 12 months. That's just this last 12 months. That does not mean, that's not normal. That's the lowest I've ever seen it, but. Putting a new meter in out there will get us a good accounting. We went through and we looked at it. We did notice that the multiplier was not on there for last month. So there should have been some demand for last month, but that was our bad. We didn't put the multiplier in there, so.
So they ask for 5,000 and no demand?
Nope, they're just asking for the flat 5.
Okay.
They're not asking to change any of their bills. Winter Resource Center is asking for $7,000 again. There is quite a letter in there as well from them, explaining what they do for the community. Yes.
Just a second.
Yep.
Austin, what are you feeling on the Tripp County Fair Board?
I'm fine with that.
So am I.
Okay.
5,000.
Were you okay with the 12 on transit? Right before it.
I never did find their letter. I hadn't got that far.
It's down, I think right below Main Gate, right after Main Gate.
I truthfully cannot
I'm
promise
sorry,
you they're in the
resource.
exact same order.
Right in. Resource.
7 pages after main gates mean.
I got Fair Board first.
It'll say rocks on it. This one right here, it's actually after Winter Resource Center, sorry.
Is there a whole budget behind it?
Yep. They actually give you explanations why their budget went up at the bottom of their budgets as well.
I wanna move on and read over this one.
Absolutely.
later.
Yeah, you guys don't have to make official decisions today. We can bring it back up in 3 weeks after you've had time to review them, and that's definitely,
That's my opinion.
okay. The final 2 requests are from the Chamber and Economic Development. Economic Development has requested
No,
50,000.
what- I took a time out on Winter Resource
Oh,
Center.
okay.
You had started on that, and then I called for time out.
That's okay. 7,000 was Winter Resource. They do have their budget. All of these that are before you today had everything that was required of them. This is the same amount that the city has donated to them for the past 5 years.
I'm good with that. Austin?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Economic Development?
Yes.
Okay. Economic Development has requested 50,000. And it is a separate board from the chamber, so I guess we'll talk each separately. They did submit everything that they needed to submit. They are towards the back of all of these. It is my, if I remember correctly, and Austin, you've been on this committee for 2 or 3 years too, this is very typical of what they request from us. But the finance committee has cut those donations down to what was affordable for the city at that time. Last year, a total of 50,000 between the 2 of them, 25 and 25 is what was budgeted for. Now you guys are considering the additional 10,000 for economic development. I plugged in the 50 and 30 because that is what the request was for. Technically, because these are all nonprofit or 501(c)(3)s, their financials are public record. So that's why we can talk about it with the cameras on. I don't want to get into great detail about their financials because I can't explain them, so I would hate for someone to hear something from us and it be misinterpreted by the public. But these requests are technically available if anyone wants to come and ask for them too. And And because of that is actually why some people have stopped asking for money from the city. They didn't want their information public. Again, this is something that you do not need to make a decision on today, but if you want to go out and stew it over, look at those financials and come back with a recommendation in 3 weeks for what to plug in, I don't have an issue with that. I mean, we're obviously still before retreat. We'd have another meeting yet before that even for finance, before the retreat, so. It is a lot of information to look over for some pretty big dollars. The final one is considered a contribution. District 3, that is who helps us with our grant writing. It does go up a percentage each year. Last year it was $4,944. This year they've sent a letter and it's $5,096. So not a lot, $102 increase that they have helped us with. I will say in the last year, we've utilized them a lot with a lot of different grants and questions and different things like that, so. They also renew our SAMs for us, our unique identifier number. They do that for us with the funds that come from our contribution to them. If we receive a grant that they help us with, they can write in their cost associated with getting those grants. If we do not receive a grant that they helped us with, i.e. the sanitation grant, it does not cost the city of Winter anything. They don't come back and charge us for helping us write that grant. They only take money from the grant itself if it's awarded, and that's part of the grant process. Very typical that you can write in your cost for writing it. Did plug in, that's all for donations. If you want to very quickly kind of move forward on the budgets, the first one being the other.
What
Go
are we
ahead.
gonna do with contingency? We got 300,000 in there this year, and we're halfway through the year and we're out.
Yep. It's up to you
Jeremy,
guys.
what's your thoughts on that?
What percentage can it be?
5% of the general fund budget if you're gonna start putting in contingency into each department.
Is that what this 4.9, no, that's total.
That's just that department. Your general fund budget, and I didn't bring it with me, I apologize. It's,
4 million.
yeah.
So you can only put $200,000 into the contingency. If you look at the general fund, the 16 departments, just a rough number, 4,195,000 approximately. So you can do up to 5% of that. Each of your enterprises can have their own independent contingencies, which are 5% of their budgets.
How were we able to do 300,000 last year then?
We were doing the entire budget.
We were
Oh.
doing the entire budget and should not have.
Oh, okay.
We're learning still as we go through this,
Okay.
especially in this last year.
But we did do the entire budget, and
Yes.
the auditor didn't write us up for it, so that's something to think
Well,
about.
and I wouldn't necessarily say that we were doing it wrong.
Wrong,
It was the
no.
entire budget because we weren't putting contingencies in those other ones either. But if you're gonna start putting contingencies into those others, you do have to split them apart. $2023 total budget for general fund was $4,543,187.
We gotta go by
much
2023 or
was
the
it?
2024?
$4,543,187. So you'll go off of the 2024 budget, but I don't have all the numbers to give you where 2024 is at right
Well,
now.
we need to max it, whatever we can do.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only other two items that are under other non-departmental is insurance and sales tax. Insurance, I know we've talked about this already. Property tax, it's not pretty. We're lucky it's only going up the 7%. Next year, very, very scary. Just listened to a report the other day, and a lot of states are actually going up 60% on their property taxes. So FYI, that could be coming our way. So I plugged that in, 7% across the board for our insurances, based it off of what we have currently. Obviously today, as I mentioned last night, I'll be going through the insurance renewal and making sure that nothing has changed from what they have on there. The majority of this is just our general liability that the city of Winter has. Each department does pay a portion of the liability. This also includes your mayor and council, elected officials, and so there's several things in there. I do have a breakdown of what exactly it all covers under the non-departmental.
So, did we talk about community connections? I see they're on here, but,
They did not submit.
okay, there was just a number, 0.
Yep.
Okay.
Because
good.
we have donated to them before,
Yep.
but
all
they
right.
did not submit.
Understand why it's not there.
Is the Legion's letter in here?
No, it is
He
not.
always-
He sends it the week of when they know that they're having it.
Once they know they're having the feed or not, he comes in, is what he's been doing.
But for us to appropriate, he needs a letter per this process. And he's got time. I'm not saying he doesn't have time, but
Sure, I can ask for a letter from him.
And- Yeah,
again, it's public, and the public should know their request.
I can talk to him too, because after hearing that this morning, there is a confusion there. The reason why there was not a letter yet is because the financial statement, they're not actually required a financial statement because they're in lieu of something.
Right.
It's for a
And
specific
there's-
project.
The guys, whoever does their financial stuff hasn't gotten it to him. So he called me the other day and he wanted to have a letter, but he couldn't have that portion of it, the financial statement. He couldn't get it yet. So I can tell him, explain that you actually don't need to, but you need to get a letter to Chandra.
Yep.
Same as the summer rec program.
So I'll
Yeah.
take care of the Legion one, because
Okay.
he had called me the other day and he said, I can't get this financial statement, blah, blah, blah. Didn't realize it. I told him then, I said, you have to have it. That's the rules.
Oh, sure.
Well, I didn't realize it was,
Today.
I didn't realize it was in lieu of something you don't have to. So,
Where it's for a
anyway,
specific
I'll explain that sometime today or tomorrow and he'll get you a letter.
Sales tax, that's based off of if the city sells anything, we are required to pay sales tax on it. And so if anything comes out of general fund for sales tax, we have to pay it. Right now, it's not very high, so could it go down from the 4,000? Absolutely. But last year, you were at 4,021. The year before that, you were at 5,048. So that's where I have the 4,000. Need to do a little more research and see why the sales tax is so low this year, if we're just not charging it correctly or what's happening. The next one is mayor and council. I don't want to go too in-depth on that in this committee. Ultimately, what I did is I plugged in some numbers based off of personal services. There's no increase there. Same with your OASI, workman's comp insurance. Mayor and council does not have a specific insurance that they pay. Legals and advertisements, that is when we publish ordinances or minutes. Mayor and council pays for that. And then American Legal, we have not paid for our supplement yet this year. We usually pay for that in December, so that's a tough one to tell you this is where we're at for the year, because we only pay for it once now. Versus for a while there, we were paying it every month, and now we just do a supplemental once a month, or once a year. Otherwise, the travel, conference, and schools, utilities, you guys can look through that and come back with recommendations at the next meeting if you'd like. Elections, next year is a mayoral election, and we do typically budget more during a
So-
mayoral year.
So why didn't you want to go into the mayor and council one?
If you want to, we sure can. I just know you guys hadn't seen this yet, so I didn't know if you wanted to go and discuss further, or if you want to discuss here, you
No,
can.
we can discuss here.
Okay.
We've done a little homework. I've done a little homework. The last council increase was in 2006, as far as I believe, 6 or 7. And I feel that it's time. I've been approached by some other councilmen that feel it's time to adjust the wages, and had an example worked up that if it was put on CPI back in '06, where it would be at. And the current council pays at 600 and the mayor's 900. And if put on CPI, it would be at 818 right now. and mayor paid me at 1,200. Arbitrarily, I came up with numbers and conversation of setting council pay at $800 a month and $1,200 per council, for the mayor. And that's my feelings and how I've been approached on that. I don't know what the total numbers of that would be.
So we don't budget it based off of the per month anymore. We do budget it based off of the amount of meetings, because that is
Yeah.
technically how you're paid, so we would go in and figure that out.
I think that example had that on there per meeting to break it out.
That would affect your workman's comp and your OASI. So it would adjust 3 different lines in there. Workman's comp is based off of total salary. Yeah. Oh.
It would be at the bottom.
Okay. Can I have a copy of this?
Yeah,
We can plug those numbers in.
yeah, see what that does, see how
Yep.
it's gonna support it.
As of right now, I was just going to tell you, mayor and council's budget's actually a decrease of 1%, but put those in there and it won't be a decrease anymore.
Do we have the mayor and council, or the budget sheet that you're talking about?
Yes, you
It's
do.
page 2.
It would have been the
Of the,
second budget sheet. So the first one was other and non-departmental, then mayor and council would have been next. Right before elections.
Got too far.
Yeah, if you come back, I think it was page 2, Austin.
Okay. I'm there now.
Your American legal, that is all depending on how many ordinances you guys put through, how long the ordinances are. That ultimately determines that price. Last year, I don't know that, I think 95 is probably too much. Although we did pass 2 extremely long ordinances that will need to be published through them as well, recently, one of them being the developer ordinance. Cemetery is fairly long, and then there was another one out there that was pretty long as well. So
what utilities do we pay for?
your tablets.
We've been paying for years.
Been saving up.
In 2021, you were paying
Capital
for the
outlay.
1369 number. That was when we went live with the 1369 and then being forwarded to your numbers.
1369.
It was 842-1369. So that used to be the number that you call to get counsel through Golden
Oh,
West.
So we're paying the phone bill?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who pays for that?
Now you don't, because it's just coming through the finance office number. So now your only utilities are for FirstNet, for the tablets, because they do have, you share data between all of you.
That will be quite low.
I think you all, it's very low what you share. Jody actually shares with mine, and then the rest of you share, the 6 of you share amongst yourselves. So,
The phone?
the data on the tablets.
Okay.
Because I'm actually going to assume, I don't remember any of you asking me for the Wi-Fi unless Michael plugged it in for you, for in here, so you might be using data
I
when
have.
you're in here. Do you have Wi-Fi?
Well, I
on
can
there?
get me emails.
Well, but it's got data, so you could get it via that too.
I think we're all just using the Wi-Fi. He's got it plugged in.
Did he plug it in?
Yeah.
Okay.
No idea.
I didn't even think about that. He's.
What's
usually
really
good about that,
cool, now that this is set up and we're all on the same Wi-Fi, I could take a document and airdrop it to you in the middle of the meeting that says, Jeremy, don't say that again.
I can't.
Ding. Well, you can receive it.
About all I do is I open it up and I look through the packet during the meeting.
We're all learning. You guys
So
are
the
doing
other
well.
thing I would like to do is I would like to scan each one of these requests and email them out to council too, so that all of council has access to them, rather than, because it gets cumbersome flipping through all these pages sometimes, so.
So is there any way, you know what gets, I don't know if the word's cumbersome, but painful, is when they get scanned through in the packet, they're like this? That is not easy.
So you can turn them up, you can turn them on your, when you open them in Adobe, you can turn them.
She's
just-
the instructor.
I just turn my head and I read them.
We're on city guest, just so everybody knows.
Oh, okay, perfect, thank you. I figured he plugged it in. I'm not sure, that would be some dinking around on my part to see if
I
I
don't
can do
know
that.
how to turn it.
There is.
So the reason being, I couldn't scan the entire packet and do it that way, and that's fine. I would have to make sure that I'm scanning them individually so that they're all going through that direction, and I
Why do some
can do
come
that.
through sideways though?
So for instance, you're gonna have this one like this, and then the very next one is gonna be like this. And when I scan them, they're on top of each other.
Right, okay.
So that's why
Because they're
they're,
printed sideways.
yep. They use a landscape versus a portrait.
Tell them to stop using landscape.
So I can try to do better with that.
I'm just not that techy. Other election, where'd we go? I'm in a different.
Elections would be next after mayor and council.
Okay.
It's a tough one. It is a very small budget, but it is a very tough one. I don't know if you guys are gonna rerun. It's that half of the room that's gonna
We
maybe
don't
run,
either.
maybe not run. If there's an election, I spend a lot more money. It's mayoral next year too, so it's a tough one for me to know.
There could be 4 different,
There could be 4, there could be none. Like
Everybody-
this year, we had,
you could all
None.
run unopposed and have 3 for this one, or you could have none for this one, and every one of those, it's just it's a guessing game. You don't know.
I mean, $1,000 out of a $18 million budget.
Yeah.
But
Have we ever went over when there was the elections, mayoral council?
you
The
have.
thing that you could
Not
do-
in recent years, but yes, you have.
Quite honestly, you can set the budget wherever you want it, and then you have the contingency. If that goes over, and it ends up that all 3 wards and the mayor have elections, and this becomes a $2,000 expense, council
Throw
can
1,000.
adjust at it afterwards.
Okay.
That's minimal. Like Chandra said, it's $1,000 that you would have to transfer out of an $18 million budget. I think we'll have bigger issues that you see next year that
Yeah.
people are wanting to transfer for. So this budget, I'll promise you, this year is going to be the hardest year you're going to see probably in the next 5 years.
Oh, that's nice. I thought the last 2 were tough.
They were, and they came to this pinnacle. This year, Troy wasn't kidding when he said they're doing more than they ever done. I think if you ask Chandra and her department, with all the additional trainings that they've had to do for the different equipment, from Encode to the,
All of it, the meter uploads,
yes.
the grants, I mean, we've got multiple.
This year
grants
has
out there.
been, we are finding out what our red line is this year.
So we're at 910, we got,
You don't know, quite honestly, those numbers on the right are inputs. These are for you guys to go look at. Chandra's collected this data to give to you. All the numbers are there. I'm gonna take these, I'm gonna punch these into my formulas and come up with an overall number to see where we're at versus our revenues. We don't have to go through these line by line until retreat. This is.
but it's nice to have work done before we get to the.
100%. You've got the meeting on the 7th and the 21st before the retreat. So there's 3 more times, whereas you go through these, You can come back and ask
So
questions.
How does finance committee work now? When I was on finance committee in 18, I
It's
think,
very different.
it all came through the finance
It
committee,
does
the whole
not.
budget. Each department looked at theirs and it all came to us.
Does not.
No.
The retreat
I know
is,
the budget retreat, but I thought it all went through finance committee before it came to the retreat.
these are what,
Not anymore.
this is kind of what finance committee is looking at, are these, and there are 16 in the general. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Two of those are not general. Two of those are our bonds.
Yeah, so there's 6 of the 16 in the general come through you. Otherwise, they're coming through their appropriate different committees.
Okay.
The culmination, not to put any pressure, Austin's been through this, and you don't get everything dumped on you for all the enterprises in these 16. You get these 6. When we do the retreat, that's when everybody brings all the pieces together. So you're not
Prior
accountable.
to the retreat, we've talked about this, is a detailed budget sheet for each department. So if I'm not on corrections, I have a sheet of their request prior to the retreat. So
Yes.
if you want to take the time, and everybody should, and really look at them, otherwise it is thrown in front of you on the day of the
We
retreat.
have 40 minutes for each
And
department.
you're like, okay, make a split-second decision.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we know,
So my,
once it's appropriated, it's out of our control. We've heard that how many times?
You have to do your homework. That's what Austin is saying. And you have to take these. I will try to put together an overall picture. Chandra will have an overall picture. You can take the 2, look at what, geez, we're over, we got to cut. And then you take a look at all these departments and you'll have to say,
and I'm emailing these out. These are essentially for the next few weeks. These are your notes that I'm emailing out to you. So every time I update anything in the budget after each committee meeting, then I send the entire budget back out to you guys. So then you can go through those individual ones and look at them
Like,
too.
like me, the final one is what I look at, because we get these every other day, and,
how do they fit into the overall big picture?
Right.
well, the big picture, or you don't know what you changed. You know, the change isn't highlighted, nor does, I don't want it highlighted, because I don't have time to go through every one of these every other day
Right.
to
No, and I
figure
get
out
that.
what the
Yep.
change was.
Yeah.
But a detailed set in stone, this is what's coming to the retreat a week in advance, I think is very doable.
I think I could get it to you that Friday before. So what they're currently talking about is August 24th. You would have 2 meetings right there. You would have
I think we have to go,
streets and
When's Labor Day
water
weekend?
sewer.
I think you have to go back to the 29th.
29th now?
Yeah, I do,
Okay.
because that's a 5th week that's open. I think the 29th or the 31st is when we have to do this, right before we come back. I don't want to double up on the 24th, because it's
Yeah.
a
Because then you're gonna miss
corrections.
corrections, yeah.
It's a corrections committee, and I don't want to do that. I like that 5th week, because you guys
Actually,
don't
it's not
have.
an extra week, Jody, because this is your extra week, the first week of that. So you've got finance, so actually this would be finance, then it would be, police, electric, so then because this is the extra week, you will have committees all of that week.
So
Unless you do it the 31st and don't start till 9 o'clock in case corrections has something.
I don't like the 31st.
Well,
Well, the 24th is what I was originally shooting for.
we're talking a month in advance. Let's just not have the corrections meeting on that Thursday or Wednesday or whatever.
Yeah,
They
the
have a month to
24th.
say, hey, we're gonna take 4 days away from your budget season. I mean, they probably already have it done.
They do.
Yeah.
So the only, if you were to do it on the 29th, streets and sanitation
No,
would be
I would
meeting.
prefer the 24th.
Okay, so then you'd be missing parks, streets, sanitation, water, sewer, ordinance, which doesn't matter typically for budget, and then municipal jail. So you'd have like a week's worth of committees. You're cutting a week out on
Yeah,
them.
31st does not work. That's whole big, won't be here.
Understand. You still have those committees that's just not gonna be budgeting at that time.
Yeah.
except the day of your retreat.
If their budget
24th
still
is
needs work at that
corrections.
time, we've got supervisor
It's
problems.
electric.
Electric would pull that one.
What was that?
I said if the budget still needs work on the
Still have a
24th
week
of
to do it,
August,
yeah.
we have supervisor problems.
Wow, yeah.
Oh, they're gonna get worse.
But that gives them a whole week to take anything that happened out of retreat and get it, because it has to be on first reading for the 5th. That's by state statute. So, that does give them time to work on it if they have vacation schedules or anything for Labor Day. So, yeah. Are you guys saying yes to the 24th? Can we
I
put that
am.
on the agenda?
That's fine. Just-
I am 24.
Okay. We'll add that to the agenda. I would like you guys to think about something. We don't have to make a decision today.
I can give you an answer right now if you want.
I want to get rid of the van. It costs me money and I don't use it,
Perfect. Get rid of it.
okay? You
It's your
okay?
idea this year. I told you that 3 or 4 years ago.
I'd care less about it till they started using, like, when it didn't cost me anything, I didn't care, but now that it costs me because everyone else is taking it on trips and then they break it and I have to pay to fix it, it's a pain.
I would like to see it transferred to the airport then as a concierge.
Yep, that's a
can do
good
that.
idea.
I'm fine with that.
The problem is you do have a lot of departments who utilize it to go on,
They have other
Training.
vehicles too. They're using that because it's convenient.
I'm
We have a lot of
told
other vehicles.
the police does not have a different vehicle to take.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
They do.
They
Okay.
got a Tahoe they can take.
Tahoe Explorers, there's plenty.
Okay, because that's what I was told about dispatch and police, is that's the only one they have available. If that's not available, they pay them to take their own
No,
vehicles.
I like that idea.
And
Instead of
that's
the
that's totally fine
airport.
too, to pay mileage on a personal vehicle.
It is.
You can.
There's nothing wrong with that. We don't pay insurance all year. We don't do oil changes and tires. Pay them a little mileage. State rate. Done
I don't
deal.
even turn in my mileage because typically if I go to a training, then I go do something after and I'm like, it was just easier,
I personally would want my own vehicle instead of,
same.
but that's up to them.
Yep.
But there are other vehicles available.
Okay, airport, I think, he's been asking for one, so
It's still low miles, correct?
I would have to check.
I think it's in the, like,
I think the last time I
You
took
think
it was
what?
when I went free shopping.
What did you?
I think it's only around 60,000, if that.
So I think we need to,
We need to find out what it's worth.
No.
And then find out what we're going to transfer it for, but,
label it, identify it. What it is. City of Winter, what's your term?
Concierge car,
Yeah, that's a little bit big.
just shuttle,
Shuttle, whatever, airport shuttle.
airport
Put,
shuttle,
you
city.
put Winter Regional Airport on the door or
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yep.
you know. Label it.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
just so people know what it is and
Yep.
it's not somebody's personal vehicle, it's a city vehicle.
Seen a white van driving around from store to store with city plates on it.
It's all.
Yep. The door says
and
Winter Regional,
now,
it's a
with our
pilot.
current coverage provider that we have, it used to be with the old insurance, anyone driving that other than a city employee was not covered. It was not gonna work. Now with this current coverage, the vehicle is insured, not, it doesn't matter who's driving it, so, that is a benefit to us there.
Dave provides his own car, we could help him out.
The rest of this, if you want, I mean, the last two are the pool bond. That's an in and out.
2027?
Yes, that's the official final pay. Yep. Yep. Otherwise, finance office, admin building, not a ton of changes, other than, you know, things went up a little bit, cost of things went up, but the only other change in the finance office is an additional person. I know Jeremy's opinion on it.
I thought that's what you were gonna want.
I know it was.
When you brought up the vehicle, and I said I can give you an answer right now. New.
Do you have time? Do you want to hear why I've asked for an extra person? As in, same as the other departments, or you want to wait 2 weeks?
I've heard it before.
You have.
And you've heard
It's
me say no
changed.
before.
It has changed
Oh.
somewhat since then with the new recommendations from council on what we're doing. We've talked a lot on what HR should be. Right now, the job description is part-time HR, part-time finance deputy officer. That does not work, period.
Also, we know, or we hope, that executive time is supposed to save a lot of time. And you said yesterday's meeting that you're gonna be giving her more responsibility, which is great. You'll be freeing up here, and then you're gonna take, so maybe we should try that for a year to see how things work out there and what actually happens. But that's just my.
You're allowed to talk. You're allowed to say no.
With the conversations that have happened, without getting into a lot of detail, and having had conversations with our attorney on what HR's purpose should be, and with 150 employees and what they're doing, I would actually remove HR out of that office altogether and separate them so that they're not involved in the financial world anymore. They are just HR, employee benefits, payroll, safety, because you have tied safety director into the HR, and making sure that we're getting where we need to be on our standards so that we can get the deductions on our workman's comp, so that we can get the deductions on our insurance coverage, so that we can make sure that our employees are getting the best benefits out there and giving them those
So you're saying we
opportunities.
should pull it out of the finance office and put it under the attorney?
No. Physically pull it out of the finance office and give it so right now I have, where Brent Gill used to be, where Public Works used to be.
It feels like we're trending that way anyway, where we're talking about our, when somebody is disgruntled,
That portion is going to attorney. However, I'm pretty sure you don't want to pay an attorney's wage to do payroll or
that's
to
way too much already.
sign up a new employee. Right now, a new employee takes 2 hours at minimum to sign them up and go through all of their benefits with them, make sure that they've got everything done, make sure they've got their urine test done, their background check, all of that.
I didn't say the attorney do that work, I just said put a responsibility
Sure.
under the attorney in that office.
If that's what you want, is that responsibility to be under them, then if that
No,
HR
that-
person is gone, your attorney would do the backup for them.
There's another reason, from my perspective as the attorney, that HR belongs in, or at least attached to the finance office. And that is because by law, the finance officer has basic oversight over your HR program. But more importantly, your finance officer is available to act as an acting HR person when HR is gone, vacation, sickness, whatever. You need somebody to fill that in.
So it's my turn to offer what I think. We've talked, yeah, we can, do you want to do this publicly or?
I don't care.
I think-
I'm not talking individuals, I'm just talking
Yeah.
the specific job title, but we can kill it, I don't
Yeah.
care. If it's potential that we would talk individuals, I don't want to talk.
Well, I need to get rid of some coffee and maybe get some more coffee. I can give you another 15 minutes, but I gotta do some business first.
Yeah, that's fine.